Okey-doke. Alrighty. We're going to go through all the things we're going to do in the clinic, the stopping clinic, and it's going to be the transitional stop and the verbal stop. Now, as we get through these lessons, we want you to, we kind of want to make sure people understand that there's lots of ways to stop a horse. These are two ways of teaching different stops, and so it becomes your choice of whether or not these things are something that you feel like you can use and be helpful. But I can tell you from experience that they're fun to teach, and the results have always been really good. So the first thing that we're going to teach on Friday is the verbal stop, and what that entails is getting the horse to move in a small circle on one rein only for anywhere from 45 seconds to a minute. And as we get those get up to that time frame, you're going to be doing this kind of a thing initially at the walk, where you're going to ask your horse to just keep walking in a small circle. And that means you're going to be monitoring the horse, but you don't want the horse to stop. And so this goes on and on and on. And then as this continues, you'll get to the point the horse is going to try to stop several times. And then you're just going to get to the point that you're going to just drop the reins and say, whoa. So there's no pickup of the bridle to stop or any contact on the bit to encourage the stop. It's just the release of riding. This will transfer up into the walk, from the walk to the trot to the canter if people feel comfortable at those other two speeds. And so when we get the horse going in a decision, so now we're going to get her up into a little bit of an energy thing. Ooh. And so just the verbal command without picking up the bridle is what you're going to end up with. Now, as we teach this lesson, the way that when you're working on this at home, when you take your horse and you're working in these circles, in this small circle, and maintaining your energy in the horse, and then you're going to kind of test yourself on the horse and let the horse walk in a straight line and then say, whoa. And that's how you're going to find out if the horse is actually looking for that command or not. Now the repetition of this will go on and on and on, and that's the whole point. It's a very simple lesson. It's not hard. It's not. It doesn't wear you out or anything like that, but it's a way of teaching the whoa command without getting involved in any physical things with the horse, and the word whoa becomes something that they look forward to. So you're going to condition your horse into that. The next one, the transitional stop, is based on the backup. Now, when we ask a horse to back up, the backup is something we want the horse to find. We don't want to insist on the backup. In other words, pull on the horse and squeeze it, or jerk on it or anything like that. So what we're going to do, when you pick up the reins, if you're sitting up straight in your position and your arms are basically parallel to the ground, and I'll try to discourage anybody from doing this with their arms, because as soon as you do that, you're going to try to cheat something out of the command with your wrist, and it ruins the whole process of your teaching. So if your arms are always parallel to the ground, your hands will be soft in the way that they feel things and do things. As soon as you start to straighten, you're going to find yourself gripping and pulling and doing those kind of things. So from this position, you're sitting up straight. If you change your position in the seat and drop your arch down in your back, that change of your back actually changes, your hands change with it. So you're not doing this with your arms, you're changing with your seat. So now when you pick up the reins, and you only pick up the reins enough that you know you've made contact with the bridle, and then you sit down in that command. As you sit down, you're engaging the bridle, and you sit up to stop it, sit down to engage it, sit up to stop it, and so forth. And then you'll ride your horse forward, and then you'll change into that position while the horse is going forward. Now, when we're teaching this, a lot of horses don't back up all that well. And so the instinct of the rider is to always take a grip and pull harder to make them back up. And it's kind of counterproductive for the progress of the horse. When I pick up on a horse, if I pick up on this horse and I ask her to back up, and she starts to push in my hands and not back up, instead of pulling harder with the bridle, I will hold that position and start to squeeze with my legs at the cinch, never behind the cinch. This behind position back here means to go forward. This position is to stop, and the squeeze is to back up. So as we start to condition the horse, if our legs are in the right place and we squeeze, we don't need to have the bridle to back the horse up. Come back with the legs and let her catch up here. And walk forward, and that's your forward command. So as we get along in this, changing the seat, and that's a stop. Okay, so that's kind of the clinic in a nutshell, but I thought having a little something that you can take home with you or get on the YouTube rather to look at and refresh any decisions or any information that you're going to be getting that might be helpful. Now, when we may throw in some other things just to make particularly the backup a little bit more thorough in its purpose. One of the things is a hind quarter pivot from the backups, and we pick right here. She has a push on her, so that's where I squeeze. Instead of she pushes, I'm not going to pull. So if I pick up and she does anything but get soft and move her feet, then I'll use my legs. But right here, if I just move my left hand out slowly, that becomes a hind quarter pivot. Okay, now I'm just have the lightest contact on the bridle. Now on this particular bridle, the reins are actually attached to the halter and the bit, but more it's actually the halter, and the bit barely moves on this. And this is something that she hasn't had done with her very much, so we're just kind of doing this on this particular setup to kind of get her used to this. So as I'm walking, I'm not going to change the bridle, I'm going to change my seat. Okay, and this is something that becomes hard for people sometimes to do, because if their instinct is so great that they want to pull on the rein. So getting yourself conditioned where you can keep a stationary position with your hands and just change your seat, that affects the horse. Okay, so both of these commands are going to take, each one of them is going to take a full day to get it to where each of you are actually understanding not only what you're doing, but why you're doing it. And the why is always more important than the physical things that we're doing. So that'll be the presentation for Friday and Saturday. And hopefully this will be some help to you, and we'll make this available on YouTube. Okay? Thank you very much.